Welcome to AI News in 10, your top AI and tech news podcast in about 10 minutes. AI tech is amazing and is changing the world fast. For example, this entire podcast is curated and generated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. Here's what's new today, Sunday, November 30th, 2025. The AI chip build-out is accelerating across 3 continents. Amazon and Microsoft are unveiling multi-billion-dollar infrastructure bets. Micron is choosing Hiroshima for next-generation memory, and Geopolitics is slicing right through the semiconductor stack. We'll also dig into Washington's latest export control twist, and a Justice Department case alleging that hundreds of restricted NVIDIA GPUs slipped into China. Let's dive in. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Need elite developers fast? Elite Coders connects you with rigorously vetted senior engineers in 24 to 48 hours. Staff augmentation, dedicated teams, or full project delivery, we've got you covered. Visit elitecoders.co to get started today. Again, that's elitecoders.co.
Now, let's dive into today's stories. Story 1. Micron is going big on high-bandwidth memory in Japan. The company plans to invest about 1.5 trillion yen, roughly $9.6 billion, to build a new AI memory plant in Hiroshima, focused on advanced HBM that feeds the world's AI accelerators. Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry is prepared to back the project with up to 500 billion yen in support. Construction is set to begin next May at an existing site, with shipments targeted around 2028. Why it matters? HBM has become the oxygen of large AI clusters, and supply is tight. This expansion positions Micron to challenge SK Hynix and others, while diversifying manufacturing away from Taiwan, a strategic priority for companies and governments. It also fits Tokyo's broader effort to rebuild domestic chip capacity, alongside projects tied to TSMC and IBM. That's a lot of capacity, and a lot of subsidies, chasing AI demand. Reported Saturday, November 29th, by Reuters. Let's move to North America for Story 2. Amazon is turning the dial to 11 on public sector AI compute. The company has committed up to $50 billion to expand artificial intelligence and supercomputing for U.S. government customers via AWS, adding around 1.3 gigawatts of high-performance capacity across AWS's classified regions, Top Secret, Secret, and GovCloud, with construction starting in 2026. On the same day, Amazon also unveiled a separate $15 billion plan to grow data center campuses in northern Indiana, adding 2.4 gigawatts and about 1,100 jobs. The takeaway: AI isn't just a commercial cloud story anymore. It's a national capacity story. Agencies will get access to services like SageMaker, Bedrock, and partner models such as Anthropic's Claude inside hardened government regions. And stateside energy markets will be asked to support another multi-gigawatt wave of demand. Google and Oracle are pursuing similar public sector wins, but Amazon's message is clear. AWS intends to be the default AI backbone for Washington, reported November 24th by Reuters. Story 3. Microsoft is planting a $10 billion AI flag in Europe. The company will invest in a large AI data hub at Sines on Portugal's Atlantic coast, working with developer Start Campus, UK-based Nscale, and NVIDIA. The plan calls for deploying about 12,600 next-gen GPUs and tapping Sines' subsea cable nexus and green energy potential. It's one of Europe's largest AI infrastructure investments, and part of Microsoft's push to double data center capacity across 16 European countries by 2027. Strategically, Microsoft gets a landing point near the Mediterranean that stitches into transatlantic cables and can scale power and cooling, while giving the EU another sovereign-friendly compute anchor as it wrestles with AI rules and industrial policy. Microsoft's Brad Smith framed Sines as a benchmark for the responsible and scalable development of AI in Europe, reported mid-November by Reuters and Bloomberg. Before we continue, here's a quick message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT, but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values, whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat. That's FAMILYGPT.chat.
All right, let's get back to it. Story 4 takes us to the US-China policy fault line. The White House is considering whether to allow NVIDIA's H200 AI chips to be sold into China. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told Bloomberg the decision sits on President Trump's desk, a potential softening after years of tightening export controls. The H200, with its larger high-bandwidth memory footprint, is a meaningful leap for data crunching models. NVIDIA, for its part, says there are no talks to sell its newest Blackwell chips into China. At the same time, Beijing appears to be moving in the opposite direction. Chinese regulators have barred ByteDance from using NVIDIA chips in new data centers, a striking sign of efforts to decouple and push domestic silicon into state-backed facilities. Whatever the final call from Washington, the message to the market is volatility. Customers in China face shifting ceilings, NVIDIA faces whipsaw demand and product tailoring, and developers everywhere are planning for a world where supply, not just specs, determines capability. Reported last week by Reuters, drawing on Bloomberg and The Information. And Story 5, enforcement is heating up. The US Department of Justice has charged 4 individuals, 2 US citizens and 2 Chinese nationals, in an alleged scheme to illegally export restricted NVIDIA GPUs to China. Prosecutors say the group routed hardware through Malaysia and Thailand to evade controls, with 2 completed shipments, moving about 400 A100 GPUs between late 2024 and early 2025. Authorities say additional attempts involving H100-equipped HPE supercomputers and 50 H200 chips were disrupted, and cite roughly $3.89 million in wire transfers tied to the operation. The case crystallizes how export controls now extend into the gray zones of reseller networks and front companies. It will also feed congressional pressure for tighter chip security legislation, while chipmakers warn that blunt force kill switches or backdoors could create fresh cybersecurity risks. Coverage over the past week via Ars Technica and Cyber News. Stepping back. What's the signal here? First, the AI build-out isn't slowing. Micron adds HBM capacity and Amazon and Microsoft add gigawatts. Second, geography is strategy. Hiroshima, Indiana, and signs are as much about energy, water, and cables as they are about chips. Third, policy risk is now an engineering constraint. Washington may open or close access to specific NVIDIA parts, and Beijing is pushing giants like ByteDance off US silicon. And finally, enforcement is getting more granular, going after shipments, intermediaries, and even SKU variants. That's it for today's rundown. Micron's $9.6 billion HBM bet in Japan, Amazon's up to $50 billion government AI build, and its $15 billion Indiana expansion, Microsoft's $10 billion Portugal push, a Washington and Beijing chip chessboard featuring H200s and a ByteDance clampdown, and a DOJ case that shows just how hard it is to bottle up GPUs in a global market. We'll see you tomorrow with the next wave of launches, labs, and laws reshaping the AI economy. Thanks for listening, and a quick disclaimer, this podcast was generated and curated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. If you want to know how I do it or want to do something similar, reach out to me at emade@ainewsin10.com. That's ainewsin10.com. See you all tomorrow.